My mom passed away when I was 11 from starvation.
What do regular people in North Korea do to sort of like fight against the regime? Like, is there secret music that happens and secret art and galleries?
Is there anything you could do as someone who listens to your story to help in any way?
In truth, we're suffering. There is no freedom of movement, there is no freedom of speech, there is no freedom of religion.
Would you suggest that America intervenes in any way?
Our friends, we were wondering, because we've seen like YouTube videos of like North Korea, people who have escaped from North Korea, and usually their faces are blocked out or they're wearing some sort of mask, and it's usually to sort of protect their family who's still in North Korea because, you know, if they get hold of that information, maybe they could punish the family.
That's right.
And like with you sort of being active on social media, I guess we were just wondering like, has it been a situation where you've been fearful of your family's safety, or is that something that just Americans assume about North Korea but isn't true?
Yeah, actually, that's a really great question because it is true. Like, the reason why a lot of North Korean defectors, like, when their faces are covered, when they're, like, online, is because, like, if any North Korean defectors speak up against the regime, then their family member, their immediate family members, right, will be punished in North Korea. But for me, I am lucky in a sense that I don't have an immediate family back in North Korea. My dad abandoned me when I was 5, and my mom passed away when I was 11 from starvation. So I do not have immediate families back in North Korea. And since I'm an American citizen, it will be a lot harder for North Korean regime to actually try to retaliate or try to, you know, do something to me over here because you know I'm far away. Whereas if I was in South Korea, that might be the case, right?
Oh, I see, yeah.
But I'm glad that I'm safe here. I'm an American citizen, you know. So North Korean regime doing something to me would be an act of war, right? Especially
because you're a citizen. And
a citizen of America, yeah. And also I want to add that like I can't travel outside of, you know. I can't travel to China because, you know, I've got captured once and I was sent back to North Korea.
Is that what you said when you escaped when you were 14?
That's right.
I got captured you in China, or where were you traveling at the time?
Yes, so I escaped North Korea first time when I was 14 and I came to China. But in China, I got captured and I was sent back to North Korea.
Gotcha.
Right, and then, so I went to, when I was 15, I went to like jail, you know, and then, you know, I worked there for 9 months with, you know, 50 kernels of corn per meal. And at the end of 9 months, I was skin and bones, and eventually I was released because I was malnourished. I could not work anymore. And I want to add that I was lucky because I was a minor. I was just released, right, to my guardian's care. But if you're an adult, like you would go to 4 years of prison camp in addition to that, right? So I got released and I used to work at coal mine for a little bit too for money. Not for money, but for rice. In the coal mine, I've seen a lot of people, you know, lose their limbs and sometimes lives too because, you know, coal mine, the work is very dangerous. And, you know, I eventually realized that inevitably that's gonna be me one day. So I realized, you know what, it's gonna be worth for me to try to escape North Korea again, right, dying trying, than staying in here. So I made my second attempt when I was like 16 and a half in North Korea. I got on a train and I traveled for 2 days from where I was to the border town, and then I swam across the Yalu River, and then I came to China side, and eventually somebody found me collapsed in the middle of a road, and that person gave me a ride, and eventually that person introduced me to a South Korean pastor or South Korean missionary who eventually found me a broker that helped me to come to Thailand. Wow. So I was able to apply for political asylum to United Nations, and they were like, "You're gonna go to California." I was like, "Yes."
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So how long have you been? So you came to California after you were 16? After seeking political asylum
That's
in
right.
Thailand?
Yeah. So when I came to America, because I usually tell this to people that I'm really, really lucky because I came to America when I was like 17 years and 11 months old, right? So my birthday is in October 1st, and I came to America in December 21st as a minor, right? Because of that, I was able to get help from the resettlement agency, right? It's a nonprofit.
Right.
And they were able to help me to go to school, and they were able to help me, pay rent and all those kind of things. So yeah, so I came to America almost 18, and I have been here for like what now? It's closer to 13 years, almost 14 years.
Oh my.
Yeah. So getting old.
I mean, that's an unbelievable.
That's an unbelievable story.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I also tell that to people that my story it's unique, right?
Yeah.
But it's not uncommon. There are a lot of people in North Korea who are currently living my story, right? And therefore, I want to get my story out there so that more people knows about what's going on in North Korea, and also the brutal retaliation of North Korean regime, to its people, right? So human rights violations.
Do you, now that you're like an American citizen and everything, would you suggest that America intervenes in any way to prevent what happened to you, like happening to other people, or do you think it should be more of like a separate resolution between the two governments?
That's a great question, by the way. So here's the thing, right? Politics is very complicated and it's very messy, right? So I don't really know, like, in depth, right? So I probably I'm not the right person to ask. But my opinion is that because North Korea is tied to Russia and China, the moment US intervenes, I feel like that's gonna be a World War III.
Right.
And they make enemies out of extremely powerful countries.
That's right, yeah. So my thinking is that if we were to do something non-political, right? Let's say, I guess like sending in, the South Korean dramas to North Korea. You know how the East and West Germany's like there was a cultural exchange, like something like that, right? It's like I wonder if we were to send in like medias of like what's happening outside of the world, like people realize like, oh, we are really oppressed, and we don't have human rights in North Korea. The moment people realize that, like, it's a matter of time. It's like a dry grass, and you just set a fire to dry grass, and it catches fire. So like people are revolting, right? And I feel like that's the most like reliable way to get North Korean people the freedom that they deserve.
Wow. Is there anything that you could do, like, as someone who listens to your story, or someone who like watches, to like amplify the voices of people who have been through things that you've experienced, or like help in any way?
So personally, I think me doing this helped me a lot. Because I would recommend, like, if you're struggling, or if you're I'm not sure if I'm answering the right question. So you're asking the question of like, if other people who's watching this video going through the same thing, or
more so like we're kind of powerless in this situation.
Oh, I see.
Like, especially with non-political or government interference and anything like that, even our votes wouldn't really affect anyone positively. So
no, it would. It would. The voting system would work.
For sure, in America. More so like with people who are in your situation.
I see.
We can't do anything directly to
North Korea, for example.
So what would you recommend people who care
watching?
about the issue?
I see. Yet another great question. I think sharing the stories of North Korean people, right? Not just me, or maybe like sharing my story with your friends, maybe, right? And hey, there's a North Korean guy, and maybe like searching North Korea and trying to spread the news of what's happening in North Korea. I feel like that alone would start us like a conversation, for example, right? And it would lead to eventually change in people's perspective, and eventually to do like grassroots movement. Right. So that I believe in the grassroots movement change. So I think sharing the story of North Korean people, I think that's what we are called to do, like what we're here for. Like that's what I'm certainly here for, right? Is to share my story with you, and maybe you can help me share my story as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when people think about North Korea, they usually think of nuclear warheads, authoritarianism, and a heartless dictator. I'm making content because I want everybody to think of North Korean people. They are ordinary people who don't know how much better life could be. If you want to help me be a voice for voiceless North Koreans, I would love for you to support me on Patreon, where you can get early access to full-length videos, all sorts of fun pictures, outtakes, and other exclusive videos. Thank you, and I hope to see you there. Yeah.
I have one more question.
Yes,
and-
no, go for it. You can ask any questions you want. There's no, it's unlimited.
It might be a bit of a strange question, I guess, but I think that there's a lot of, especially with people in America, when talking about North Korea, or even when thinking about what happens in North Korea, there's a lot of instances where the just citizens of North Korea, regular people who are living there and have to work and have to get through their lives, they sort of lose a lot of their personhood in because the regime is so powerful.
Yeah.
You think about it more as just this sort of mass of oppressed people and not individual people who are going about their lives. So I wonder from a culture standpoint, what do regular people in North Korea do as part of their lives to sort of fight against the regime? Is there secret music that happens and secret art and galleries, or does any of that happen?
That's amazing. That's an amazing question. So it goes a lot deeper in depth than that the thing that you just asked, that's whole another level of a different culture that is going on in North Korea, right? I'm just gonna give you a quick summary of it.
Yeah.
But yes, so because North Korean people are oppressed, right? And here's a sad part too, is that North Korean people really don't know that they're oppressed, right? Because that's all they've known, right?
Yeah.
And there's no information going in, no information's coming out, except for those South Korean drama that's been smuggled in, or foreign cultures, foreign movies that's been smuggled in illegally to North Korea, right? Mm-hmm. And if you were to get caught watching those kind of dramas or movies, you are gonna get in trouble, right? Back in let's say 2008, for example, right, or 2010, when previous dictator Kim Jong-il, right, but now it's Kim Jong-un, who's the son of the previous dictator. When his father was the dictator, the law was a lot loose, right? So if you were to get caught watching foreign media, you can still bribe it out. You can bribe your way out, right? But now Kim Jong-un came up and said it is punishable by death. Right? So just watching South Korean dramas, you're gonna get killed, right? So it's high risk, kind of situation where if you get captured, you're gonna be turned into an example of what's gonna happen. But despite that, it still happens in North Korea, right? I watched a lot of South Korean dramas when I was in North Korea, and that gave me some sort of I was questioning, really, it's watching South Korean dramas and watching Bad Boys 1. I'm not sure if you guys know that movie. It's a Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Yeah, Bad Boys 1. And while watching that movie, I realized, well, in North Korea, I am struggling to survive or struggling to find what I'm gonna eat next. But watching this movie, super guns, super cars, and all of this different kind of things are going on around, in the background of the movie. It gave me perspective, right? It gave me an idea of what's going on outside of the world. Yeah. So I would say that's why I'm leaning towards okay, if we were to push in more of this South Korean dramas, right, as foreign cultures into North Korea.
How did you get access to that?
So so that's where we talked about the underground, right? It's smuggling, whole operations that are going on. So that exists in North Korea, right? So people are smuggling things into North Korea, and back then it was CDs and DVDs that were smuggled in from China illegally. And it's a lot harder to carry it around, right? So if there is a crackdown or if there is a search, right? It's CD is really big, right? So for example, you can hide it on your body, and if they pat you down, you'll find it.
Right.
But now it's micro SD card.
Right.
And now it's USB, so it's a lot easier to hide. You can literally swallow it.
Yeah.
Right? And you can poop it out, so excuse me, but you can poop it out later on and nothing would happen, right? So yeah. So I think the foreign media and the cultural change, I think that's the way to, free North Korean people, I guess. And also that's like, I guess that's also another way that North Korean people are retaliating against, or yeah, like going against the regime, you know, by like watching foreign medias and realizing, because like that's the lie that we've been told our entire life, right? It's like, oh, you know, like we're the greatest nation in the whole world and we don't allow any foreign cultures, you know, and because we're the greatest country, like why would we need different countries' culture, right? But in truth, like we're suffering, you know, where we can't. There is no freedom of movement. There is no freedom of speech. There is no freedom of religion. Like there is no freedom of information. So nothing is free, right? So. Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Thank you so much for asking great questions. And hopefully I see you guys on the social media.